Can you believe it? The story of the SEC weekend are the Ole Miss Rebels. There is nothing that excites me more than watching a Lane Kiffin offense, even though he's going to be going up against my dear beloved LSU Tigers. And yes, Tennessee fans, I am not an Alabama fan, even though many of you actually think that. But look, obviously, Tennessee plays this weekend against Tennessee Martin, so we're not going to talk too much about that game. Big thanks to all our new volunteer subscribers. I still can't believe that video did the numbers that it did, but that is not here nor there. But today we're going to talk about all the other matchups this weekend. And look, the Ole Miss Rebels, if they do beat LSU in Tiger Stadium, a lot like Tennessee did a few weeks ago, Ole Miss is going to be as hyped up as the Tennessee Volunteers with, to me, the two best play callers in the SEC. Now, going into the year, two of my favorite sleepers were Tennessee and Ole Miss, so I expected these teams to be as good as they are, but truth be told, the big difference between the two is Ole Miss is yet to really be battle-tested outside of a really close game that was a very lucky victory for them versus Kentucky earlier in the year. But I know this is going to sound weird. I feel as if, though, Ole Miss isn't the story, and I do think Ole Miss and LSU as a game is going to be very competitive. As my Power Hour LSU viewers know, I shared this stat from Parker at Stats-O-War, who does these predictive analysis previews of these games. He has the final score set at 28.51 to 28.51, which is his closest matchup I think he has ever charted. So it is pretty freaking amazing how compelling of a game this could be. But in the bigger picture, what's really interesting is it isn't as compelling as some of these other games because LSU and Ole Miss, I still think neither of them will really challenge for the SEC West this year. While I do think Ole Miss is a good story, obviously as the schedule gets tougher, I see them losing at least 2 games, and LSU already as a 2-loss team. Trust me, there are a lot of Tiger fans that are very happy with Brian Kelly's 5-2 record, with one of those losses coming versus Tennessee, an obviously really, really good team, and the other by 1 point versus Florida State. So yes, LSU has had some clunky wins, but trust me, they will take 5-2. What really stands out to me, and I'm going to give an LSU Ole Miss prediction at the end of this video, is actually the other games. Bam! I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Right now. So I know you've already subscribed. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. As you can tell, I'm a little under the weather, but we're going to power through this together. I do think all the other games do generate some interest. Obviously, Alabama versus Mississippi State. Alabama is a 21-point favorite. It is crazy how much Nick Saban has owned Mississippi State since he's been there in 2017. I think Mississippi State has... Let me see. I think they've scored 20 like 2 or 3 times, but they've never scored more than 24 points on a Nick Saban coached defense. And a lot of you probably remember the 49-9 drubbing that Alabama put on Texas A&M. On Mississippi State last year. I do, however, in this matchup, to give you my first pick here, like the under. I know Bryce Young is back, and he obviously played amazingly last weekend. But the one thing about it is I don't think Alabama's receivers are really all that great. I felt like Bryce Young really willed that offense to move the football. And the one unit that is the most underrated in the SEC has to be the Bulldogs defensive backs. So with that over-under number being set that high, one of my favorite plays of the week is actually the under. And I feel as if this is a matchup between two of the SEC West worst wide receiver groupings. So I do think this sets up really nicely for a nice under play in this one. And I do think Alabama wins this game probably in one of these 37-10, 37-17 type of settings. But we move on to the other games here, and why I think this slate of games are so impressive to me is the matchups between Vanderbilt and Missouri and Texas A&M and South Carolina, because you could make a strong case that the winner of these two games will be bowl eligible, and the loser of both of these games won't actually get to 6-6 and make bowls. If you actually take a look at the schedules themselves, as you see in the background here, Haynes King throwing a touchdown, it doesn't really shape up all that nicely for either of the teams. And I know South Carolina is sitting there at 4-2, but they did get very fortunate to play Kentucky's backup quarterback, which was the main reason why they won their last game. Now they get a bye week, and they play Texas A&M, who also had a bye week. But after that, South Carolina ends with Missouri, at Vanderbilt, at Florida, Tennessee, at Clemson. Those final three games to me are losses. And, Missouri and Vanderbilt, these are two teams that are also scraping for bowl eligibility. So, for me, I can't really point at one of these games for South Carolina where they have won, and I was like, okay, that is a really good football team. And the funny thing is I really do believe in Shane Beamer as a coach, but this roster, outside of a few really decent skill guys, just really doesn't look all that great to me. So, for me, in this spot here, Jimbo Fisher, this was one of his better road performances versus Alabama, but historically, his teams don't play all that well on the road. I love the spot here for South Carolina. So we'll see what happens in this matchup. But for me, it just makes too much sense that South Carolina loses this game just because A&M has better talent and it's not really close. But, man, Jimbo has not done that great of a job coaching this team. And then the Missouri-Vanderbilt matchup is very, very interesting. Obviously, if you're a Vanderbilt fan, your over-under win total in Vegas was set at 2.5, and you've already hit that over, so you feel pretty good somewhat about what you've been able to accomplish this year. But truth be told, you should aim higher. I mean, look, this does set up nicely for you to potentially get to 6 wins. And if you do, you begin to start hearing some potential coach of the year rumors for Vanderbilt. Because if you win this game, you get to 4-4, and you get a bye week before South Carolina, and then you end the year at Kentucky, Florida, Tennessee. You're not going to beat Tennessee, but I could see a potential at Kentucky or Florida close game if the ball absolutely perfectly bounces your way type of situation. And then obviously for Missouri, this is a massive game for you, considering you do have South Carolina the week after. And look, there's not many more certain wins, and you are 2-4, and you feel as if you probably should have beat Georgia or you probably should have beat Auburn. So for me, it does beg the question, do the winners go to bowls and do the losers not go to bowls? College football is obviously a wacky situation, but these are matchups that are big-time win opportunities for all 4 of these teams. Now, obviously, the biggest doomsday scenario would be A&M not getting to a bowl game. Bam! I'm looking at you. Yes, you. Right now, I know you've already subscribed. It's a road to 1K, and I know a lot of you Tennessee fans are still mad at me for whatever reason, even though I'm one of the few people that picked you guys to win the SEC East this year, and I know the buzz is surrounding that Georgia game. So in a look-ahead spot right here, I am actually going with the Skyhawks with the biggest upset I can remember in college football history. I'm kidding. You'll be okay. Tennessee will roll the Skyhawks of Tennessee Martin. As far as the rest of the games are concerned, obviously the big story last week offensively was LSU's wide receiver grouping finally getting proper distribution from Jaden Daniels, a quarterback that has struggled to just let the football rip. That was the only game where LSU's offense went out and dominated a Power 5 a Power 5 team. And look, Can LSU do that versus an Ole Miss defense that isn't really that great? They can, but truth be told, Florida's defense is honestly the biggest mess in the SEC East right now. So because of that, I am actually going to go with Ole Miss slightly over LSU in that one. I'm going to go Missouri over Vanderbilt. Missouri was actually one of my over-under plays, and it looks like that's going to be the one that doesn't actually hit. I did have Missouri over 5.5, so part of that is me picking Missouri in this spot. So I'm going to go Missouri over Vanderbilt. I am going to go Alabama, Mississippi State. I've already given you that lock of the week, my favorite play, the under in that matchup. And it then gets to this matchup, South Carolina versus Texas A&M. Wow. If Jimbo loses this one, they are in real trouble as far as bowl eligibility is concerned. And I just feel as if South Carolina really just hasn't looked good in any game up to this point. And I still think Shane Beamer's doing a really good job coaching this team. I just don't think the roster is that great. And I'm not necessarily in love with his coordinators either. And Shane's got to do a better job getting this team ready to play on Saturday. So they are at home. Both teams are coming off a bye. I am going to roll with Texas A&M, even though Jimbo's road history isn't really all that great. But I don't really love the over-under in that one or the point spread. But I am going to go Texas A&M in that spot. But once again, my favorite play of the week is the under in Mississippi State and Alabama. So let me know what you think. Comment down below. Don't you think a Saban coach defense is going to come out with some real umph this game versus a Mississippi State offense that looked very ordinary? And then obviously Mississippi State secondary. I'm telling you, if you've not watched them play, Emmanuel Forbes in that group, they are really, really, really talented, amazing ball skills. So let me know in the comment section below who you think your favorite play of the week is. And, of course, go Skyhawks. Kidding. I'm messing with you Volunteer fans. It is Power Hour SEC. Boom. And tonight, some chicken tikka masala. Or is it marsala? Masala. Let's go.